So I've had this lens for a couple of weeks now, and it's been honestly awesome. So in this video, I'm going to share some of my sample photos that I've taken and go over some of my impressions. So let's dive right in. So first up, the most obvious thing about this thing is the size. I mean, this is not, a little APS-C lens. This is a big, chunky, professional frame lens, and it definitely shows. That being said, as far as GM lenses go, it's not humongous, it's not comically huge, but it is definitely pretty big. And then as far as build quality goes, it's exactly what you'd expect from a GM lens. I mean, this is top notch. This is the best you're ever going to get, essentially. Premium materials, you've got no plasticky bits. You knock on it and it doesn't feel hollow like, again, some cheap APS-C lenses, for example. Even the hood itself right here, it has a sort of like soft touch interior, kind of like a felt pattern. The lens hood is pretty chunky and it even has this nice little push button to release. So by default, it's locked into place. You can't slide it off. So you push down this button here, twist, and it comes right off. As far as weather sealing goes, they do have a gasket on the lens mount and a bunch of internal seals, along with some sort of fancy coating in the front that makes it resistant to weather. So this lens, you can take it out into anything, so long as your camera obviously is weather sealed as well. I didn't make great use of that in my testing period, to be honest. I did take it near like a fountain and it got a little splashed. It was totally fine. But I wasn't outside in, a torrential downpour or anything testing it. Finally, it's just a really nice looking lens. I mean, GM lenses just have this beautiful aesthetic in my opinion. I'm sure they're not for everybody, but most people can agree this is just a very nice looking piece of glass. I like the little red accent here with the Sony logo. Where's it at? There it is. That looks super nice. The text looks super nice. Everything just looks so good on these. And then from an actual usability standpoint, we actually have quite a few buttons and switches on here. So we have the customizable button right here. It functions exactly the same as a customizable button on your camera, so you can set it to anything from focus modes, to drive modes, to, silent shooting mode. It has a nice clicky AF MF switch here. Feels really nice to use. And then the last switch is an Aperture Ring click and no click option. So the Aperture Ring here is clicky by default, but you can switch it to declicked if you prefer. I know a lot of video shooters prefer declicked apertures. For myself personally, I just like the satisfying click and the feel of a clicky Aperture Ring, but that's why they give you the option. And it's just a comfortable, nice lens to use. Like, I spent a lot of time with this wandering around the city. I went to Madison, Wisconsin and used it for 2 days, and it just didn't weigh me down much. Again, it's not a compact lens by any means. It's still heavy, it's still kind of big, but it's not as bad as some of the other big, expensive frame lenses that I've used. Autofocus is pretty much as you'd expect. It's just top notch. No issues with it. I used it for tracking moving subjects. IAF works perfectly. You gotta get pretty close for it, obviously, but IAF works great. Absolutely no hunting. I shot with this at night quite a bit, actually. No issues, no missed focus ever. I think I had a 99.9% hit rate with this lens. For video shooters like myself, it is perfectly silent. There's no major focus breathing. It looks good. It doesn't sound like anything, which is a good thing in video. Shockingly, it actually has pretty decent close focusing distance. It's not going to be comparable to a macro lens, obviously, but you can get some quality shots getting super up close to things. And then finally, it does have manual focus, obviously, with the switch here. The manual focus, it feels pretty good. It's like most modern lenses, so it's focused by wire, it's linear, there's no hard stops on either side. It does the job, though I always say if you're a big manual focus enthusiast, just get a lens that's dedicated to focusing manually, as opposed to an AF lens that has an MF option. Alright, now this is the exciting part. We're going to talk about image quality, and oh my god, this thing, fantastic. So this is definitely one of the best lenses I have ever had the pleasure of using. Unsurprising, it is a GM lens. It is, $1,300 or something like that. But the images that come out of this thing just look top notch. Absolutely amazing. I keep saying top notch in this review, but when you're dealing with such a high-end expensive lens like this, pretty much every aspect is top notch. So yeah. Shooting wide open at f1.4, most lenses are a little bit muddy, typically at their widest aperture. This one looks pretty fantastic. The centers are flawless, no issues whatsoever with the centers, but there is noticeable drop off if you pixel peep around the edges. Now, my lens tests, they don't get very scientific. I'm not peeping at these crazy charts or graphs or anything like that. I just take a bunch of pictures. I use the lens, out in the field. I use it to take pictures that a lens is used for typically, and I just pixel peep and look at them myself. So from my observation, shooting wide open, super sharp centers, slight drop off near the corners. Just stopping down to, say, f2.5, f2.8 sharpens up the corners completely, and it just looks amazing. But either way, like shooting wide open at night, totally fine. Like I said, I did a lot of night shooting with this lens, and I felt like I was using like night vision or something to take these photos. It just looks so good, and it lets so much light in. For landscapes and cityscapes, I typically shot around f8. You know, that's pretty common, f8 and below. But honestly, even like f2.8, man, I was getting great landscape shots with a ton of crazy detail and whatnot when I was down in the city. With it being such a wide angle lens, even super wide apertures still look great. Like, they still have everything in focus, essentially. Now, a couple of things I do want to go over. I have not personally used this much for astrophotography, but I know some other photographers who have, and they say the chromatic aberrations, that's like essentially it's like stars in the edge of the frame. If you're listening to this section, you probably know what that means, but chroma performance is not super great with this. It's not bad, but there's definitely better options. So if you're a big astrophotographer, like that's your main thing, I would honestly suggest skipping this. Now that aside, other things that we have to mention, there's pretty much no distortion. I put some before and after samples on the screen here, but like you can barely see anything. This lens is so perfectly corrected. Flare resistance is pretty great too. I've shot directly into the sun many times, and you see only a tiny bit of loss of contrast, and pretty much no ghosting. And then as far as chromatic aberrations go, I got nothing. I typically don't notice it, and I don't look for it too much in my lens reviews anyways, but I pixel peeped on like some branches and shiny objects and stuff, and there's pretty much nothing there. And finally, the bokeh that comes out of this lens, it is a wide angle lens, but it does look pretty nice, especially when shooting, you know, f2 or a little bit wider than that. It's definitely not going to replace your portrait lens by any means, but if you're the type of person who likes to take environmental portraits, so you have like the center focus subject, and then you have the environment around them, then this lens is pretty great for that. I found that there's a pretty decent transition from in focus to out of focus, and the bokeh itself, like light sources, it looks really good. So, should you buy this lens? Honestly, probably, yeah. Most of my videos, I put some sort of caveat like, oh, maybe consider this lens or that lens if you want to save money. But chances are, if you're looking at this review, you're probably looking for the absolute best of the best, and this is pretty much it. You're certainly going to pay a premium price, but you're getting incredible image quality, incredible build quality, perfect autofocus, customizable button. You absolutely cannot go wrong with this lens. So if you're interested in picking it up for yourself, I'll drop an affiliate link in the description below. If you buy through that, I do get a little commission at no extra cost to you, so thanks for supporting the channel and helping me do more of these honest reviews. Anyways, that sums it up, guys. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you next time.